Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Yesterday we saw the topic, or we are still seeing the topic, what is Atman? And the question asked by the student was Mityatvena nishiddheshu keshetveteshu panchasu sarvabhavam vina kinchit na pashyamyatra he guru vigneyam kimu vastvasti swatmanatma vipaschita. And he asked, this is the question, this, if we are, as we said yesterday, if we are meditating, many times this question will appear, and until and unless our approach to meditation is not changed, this problem will not go away. And what is the approach? What is the question? After negating the five sheaths, Panchakosheshu, Panchakoshas are the Annamaya Kosh, Pranamaya Kosh, Manomaya Kosh, Vijnanamaya Kosh, Anandamaya Kosh. After negating means removing the, or dissolving. How do you dissolve it? Yesterday we gave you few examples. There are different sadhanas. Ashtanga yoga is there, Dhyana yoga, Bhakti yoga is there, Nam Jap is there, Kriya yoga is there, Kundalini yoga is there, Aghori Paradha is there. But every path, every way is only to remove the Panchakoshas, our attachment or identification with the Panchakoshas. The student says, when I have removed the Panchakoshas, as if I come to nothing, I come to a void. There is absence of everything because all objectivity has been removed. So, O teacher, O Guru, by what will I come to know the truth when there is nothing to perceive? That is the question of the student, that by which entity then should the wise realize oneness with the self? Because there is no thought also there in the absence. So such people find themselves falling into sleep again and again. That is what it is. And if they have kept awake by God's grace, at that time the habit of looking hasn't gone away. And the habit of looking, first it was looking at objects, now it is looking at absence of objects. And yesterday we said that absence is not an object of cognition. Absence means nothing. And here the teacher in response said, the one who is perceiving the absence of objects or presence of objects, the one who is perceiving the presence or absence of objects cannot be perceived, cannot be known, cannot be seen. And that is to be recognized as the self. The perceiver himself or itself is the reality. Don't try to find that I want to have an experience of reality. One can never have an experience of reality and come back to talk about it. And therefore, the teacher said in this second verse, what was it? Where are we? Where are we? सर्वे येनानुभूयन्ते यः स्वयं नानुभूयते तमात्मानं वेदितारं विद्धि बुद्ध्या सुसूक्ष्मया. And one has to refine their intellect in order to come to this knowing. And what is this knowing? That the one who is perceiving the presence or the absence of objects, that one alone is the reality. But I'm not experiencing the all-pervasiveness. I'm not experiencing that I am continuously existing. I'm not experiencing that I'm knowing everything. Don't go into all that. I am not knowing, I am not knowing. This is the habit of the world. Now you have come, first you accept. Then slowly, its effulgence will increase. And therefore, he is the ultimate knower. And this particular verse we concluded yesterday. Tat sakshikam bhavet tat tad yad yad yena anubhuyate kasyapyan anubhutarthe sakshitvam nopayujyate. That which is witnessed by something else has the latter as its witness. When there is no entity to witness a thing, we cannot say that it has been witnessed at all. A very, very important point for a meditator, for a seeker. And what is that? You can witness an object. You can witness various objects. But when we say, I am witnessing absence of objects, this is a wrong statement. Because absence is not an object of cognition. Therefore, if someone is saying that I am witnessing, I am observing nothingness, he is making a fool of himself. There is nothing called nothingness. Nothing means no thing. Then what is the example that I gave you yesterday? Object we are talking about, no? So we can look at various objects. You two are there, you two are there, you two are there. Between this and this, empty space is there. Absence of objects is there. So as we are sitting on the seat of meditation and are purifying as a result of that, and where is this purification taking place? In the mind. In the mind, what are the objects? Thoughts. And what is happening? From many thoughts, we are getting less thoughts. From less thoughts, even less thoughts. Now what is happening? That we are observing one thought appearing, and we are observing absence of a thought. Then we are observing appearance of another thought. Again there is absence, and this train continues. Presence of thought, absence of thought. Presence of thought, absence of thought. Presence of thought, absence of thought. Now, we have spoken this language. What scripture is saying is, there is presence of thought, and between the two thoughts, there is no absence of thought. What is there? There is you. Because the absence is not an object of cognition. So between the two thoughts, you are in nirvikalpa samadhi. There is only reality expressing. There is not absence expressing. You are not witnessing the absence because it is not an object of cognition. Then what is there? Instead of focusing on the absence of object, and this is where the student or the seeker goes wrong, or the meditator goes wrong, he is object oriented rather than subject oriented. Our goal in sadhana is to be subject oriented and realize the subject as the eternal subject. But when our orientation is towards the object, then this obsession with presence absence will continue. But when our attention is on the subject, then these words will start making meaning. And what is that? Between the two objects, I alone am. And when the object is appearing, what is happening? In the presence of the self alone, this object is revealed. Then when there is no object, I continue to be. Then another object comes, again the light of the self falls on it and it gets revealed. Same thing happens in the outside world also. The sun is there. If you put the hand in the sun, the hand gets light, becomes brighter. You remove it, the sunlight continues, but you cannot see it. You cannot see the sunlight, but the sunlight continues. Exactly the same way. The self is a continuous principle. He is the Sakshi. And then till here we did yesterday. One more verse we did. Asau swasakshiko bhavo yata svenanubhuyate atah param swayam sakshat pratyagatmana chetaraha. Here the teacher says, he is telling what is the nature of this Sakshi, what is the nature of this consciousness, what is the nature of this perceiver in whose presence the objects are coming and going, who is illuminating all the objects, and when there is no object to perceive, he still continues to be. How do you come to know this subject? Here he says, the word he has used is swasakshiko. He witnesses himself. He illuminates himself. He is self-knowing. Who? The self. So the self is its own witness, for it is realized only by itself. Yesterday we made one more statement, if you remember, that I think, therefore I am, or I am, therefore thinking happens. And what did we say the correct statement is? I am, therefore thinking is happening. And whether thinking happens or does not happen, I continue to be. This is the experience of every human being. But there are some Western philosophers who initially said, I think, I can't remember that. Descartes. Yeah. He said, I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I am. बाद में सुधर गया वो. बात अलग है. डेस्कार्ट नहीं, डेकार्ट. ऑस्ट्रेलिया में बोलते हैं डेकार्टे. So here he says, hence the self itself is the supreme Brahman and nothing else. The light, how should I say, once one has come to be this self-illuminating principle, recognized, and in that recognition abidance is there, then this consciousness and the infinite consciousness is one alone. And yesterday we gave some examples. The water in the wave, the water in the ocean is nothing but the infinite waters. The water, the space in this house or space in one small room is nothing but the infinite space. Don't put, when we say we are objective in our approach, then we are looking at the walls of that the space is enveloped in. We are not focused on the space. Similarly, when we are objective, we are focused on the thoughts in the mind. We are not subjective. Subjective is a different game altogether. And then it said, Jagrat Swapna Sushuptishu Sfutataram Yosau Sajrumbha Yosau Samujrumbate Pratyagrupataya Sadahamahamithyanta Swarannaikadha Nanakara Vikara Bhagina Iman पश्यन्नहं धीमुखान् नित्यानन्दचिदात्मना स्फुरति तं विद्धि स्वमेतं हृदि विद्धि स्वमेतं हृदि. Now the teacher is going on to explain and qualify what is this. That which clearly manifests in the waking, dream and deep sleep states, that which shines inside uniformly and continuously as I. So who is coming here? Who is giving lecture now? Who is coming to listen? It is the Jagrat Purush. This is the waker me, this is the waker you. And this way, considering ourselves only to be the waking person, is only living 1/3 of our life. Why should I say 1/3? 1/4 of our life. And why? There is Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti and Samadhi. 4 states are there. And all these 4 states come and go. None of them is permanent. But do you feel you have come and gone? We don't feel we have come and gone. But our experience is that that I have been a continuous one. I don't keep saying that. Because even as a man, we are more focused on, again, because of objectivity, I'm more focused on being the brother, being the son, being the teacher, being the speaker, being the hearer, being the seer, being the thinker, being the experiencer, being the knower. Always becoming something. I'm never being the one that is the continuous one. This is the default setting which we are all set up with. We have to undo that. And that is why we come to the meditation, that is why we come to the satsangs. And here the teacher is telling that recognize this self-witnessing principle, the conscious principle, to be the ahan sphurana, the I, which is behind and in and through the Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti and Samadhi. And what is this I? This I is that which witnesses not only the world, it also witnesses the body, the senses, the breath, the mind, the intellect. It witnesses all the concepts coming and going. It witnesses all the emotions coming and going. It witnesses all the breaths coming and going. It witnesses all the senses performing or not performing. And that you are. But what is our position? We fall. We fall from that position and take the position what? I am the seer, I am the thinker, I am the knower, I am the experiencer. The moment I am the experiencer feeling has come, we have forgotten the constant I. This is the sabotage that is going on unknowingly in our life on a continuous basis. इसके लिए alertness चाहिए. For this you need alertness. That we must not deviate from the continuity that we are. Allow the experiences to go. Come and go, sorry, not just go, come and go. But you don't come and go. And this continuous principle is the Satchidanand Sarup, and knowing this within your heart as your own self. See? अब इसके लिए बाद में बार बार पापड़ बेलने पड़ते हैं. It doesn't happen just like that. Actually it happens just like that, but till that happens, the पापड़ बेलने पड़ते हैं. Because we have got so steeped into identification. Now I'll give you I think yesterday we did that example, contemplated on that, and that is everything is happening. See how the I am experiencing something or I am seeing something, how this identification comes about. Hunger comes by itself, but the I says, I am hungry. It gets identified with the hunger, but did it create hunger? No. Did it create seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, tasting? It happens. I comes and says, I am the seer, I am the hearer, I am the toucher, I am the thinker. So everything is happening. Breathing is happening. I am the breather. So a seeker recognizes the, 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 the phenomena taking place and remains a witness. जहाँ आइडेंटिफाई हो गए, छोटी 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 चीज़ों से हम शुरू करते हैं. With small small things we begin, and then it has become, we have become so programmed from childhood till today by everything around us, by our wrong interaction with the stimuli, that we have started owning them. And what happens when we own them? We concretize the consciousness. What happens when or crystallize the consciousness? What happens when the consciousness gets crystallized? It becomes uncomfortable everywhere. Water crystallized is ice. Ice is uncomfortable in any pot. It will make noise. Water is comfortable in every container. It takes that shape. So when we become crystallized by identifying with different objects of experience, we are crystallizing our personality or crystallizing our consciousness. And this crystallized consciousness is the ego. It is uncomfortable everywhere. Yesterday at Newcastle, I asked someone, so what is ego? One young kid, 11 years old, he's lying in his mom's पैर फैले हुए हैं ऐसे, ये पता आदत नहीं है. वहीं से मम होता है हैंड अप, एकदम से यूं विद इंस्पिरेशन. मैंने कहा अच्छा भी बोल. हाँ, ईगो, एंगर, ग्रीड. तो मैंने कहा गुड, ईगो इज. फिर उसको बताना पड़ा क्या. आई एम आस्किंग यू, इज ईगो, एंगर, ग्रीड? देन व्हाट इज इट? Expression of ego is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, isn't it? Ego itself is not that. Just like man is not father, brother, husband, etc. Those are expressions of the man. Man is independent. Similarly, I is independent. That was the point I was making there. And same thing is the point here, that do not crystallize your consciousness through identification. Opportunities are many. Every moment life is presenting you opportunities or circumstances, and because of your default setting, we'll keep getting identified. So we have to maintain that poise so that we do not get into that crystallization mode. Now he takes one example, the teacher, to hone in. He's preparing the student. Student's question was that there is only absence. He's saying, no, there is nothing called absence, only you are. And then, who is this you? He explained. Now he gives an example. घटोदके बिंबतमर्क बिंबम आलोक्य मूढ़ोरविमेव मन्यते तथा चिदाभासमोपाधिसंस्थं भ्रान्त्याहमित्येव जडोभिमन्यते. He says, the ignorant, on seeing the reflection of the sun in the water in a jar, considers it to be the sun itself. This is the bhranti. The word that was used was ठीक है. भ्रान्त्याः मित्येव जडोभिमन्यते. So here the reflection of the sun is taken to be the sun itself, so to the ignorant through delusion identifies himself with the reflection of the consciousness appearing in the intellect. What happens in the intellect? And considers it to be the I. What happens in the intellect? Why it is said he considers the reflection of the consciousness in the intellect which appears as I. Why is it said that? Is the consciousness not everywhere? It is everywhere. Then why it is said only the intellect? Why didn't he use the word mind? Why didn't he use the word breath? Why didn't he use the word senses? Why didn't he use the word body? Why didn't he use the word different objects? Why? Because
intellect is the discriminatory.
It is discriminatory, but then why the scripture says that? Because intellect is subtler than all the others, and it is polished enough to reflect the consciousness. The mind is too agitated with many thoughts to reflect the sun. You must have seen it on the ocean when there are too many waves. Day before yesterday, 3 days ago, myself and Niti, we were walking on the botanical gardens, along the ocean, the bay. Beautiful. And the water, so many waves and beautiful sunshine. But you could not see the reflection of the sun. Then what were we seeing? We are seeing the shimmering. What was the shimmering? That every wave was reflecting the sun, and that was appearing as the shimmering, as the sparkles. It was beautiful. But what was that sparkle due to? Was it in the water? No. It was where? It was the sun which was sparkling. Then why were we not able to see the sun? Because too many waves in the water. What is intellect? Very less waves in the water. And that is where moment waves subside, you can see the whole orb of the sun in the water. Exactly the same way, this gross body, that's why it is called gross. It is very jada. So here, yes, life is expressing, consciousness is, but you cannot catch it in the body. Breath is expressing, but in the breath is also continuous movement. There also you cannot catch the consciousness. Mind is also nothing but consciousness, but you cannot catch it because too many waves covering the reflection. In intellect, that is one faculty. Now go beyond intellect, Anandamaya Kosh, there also you cannot catch the reflection of the self, the reflection of the consciousness, because it is a bliss sheath, it is a state of ignorance. Then only one place, and that is intellect, which is it has to be made into a fit instrument. It is happening. Right now also it is happening, but we have to recognize that it is in the intellect that the consciousness is expressing as I. And that is what the teacher is telling here, that don't take this reflected consciousness on the intellect to be the reality, which is because it is the concept in the intellect which is expressing as the waker I, the dreamer I, the sleeper I, the meditator I. It is this I, this reflected I which is going on. Who are you? The original I. Original I never changes. The reflected I will keep changing. It appears only with reference to objects. Remember this. If right now I see Subhash, so one I appeared with reference to Subhash. Then I say I see Suman. Again, when I'm making this statement, again an I thought is appearing with reference to Suman. And it goes on, but it goes on so fast that we think we are the continuous I, but actually it is happening only one object at a time, one reference at a time. So If we remain with the reflected I, we will lose the plot. We have to recognize we are the continuous one, and that for that it was told in the previous verse that it is the self-illuminating one, it is the constant one. Don't consider it to be the waker, dreamer, and sleeper. It appears in and through all of them, but it is independent one. And in this manner, then he says here, the wise person leaves aside. Ghatam jalam tadgatam arkabimbam vihaya sarvam vinirikshyaterkaha tatastha etatritaya bhabhasakaha swayam prakasho vidushaya tatha. Vidusho, the wise people, the wise person, what does he do? What does he do? He leaves aside what? He leaves aside the jar, he leaves aside the water, and the reflection of the sun in it, and sees the self-luminous sun. So again, there is a jar, there is water, there is reflection of the sun, there is the reflected sun is also giving out light. But what does the wise person do? He does not focus on the pot, he does not focus on the water, he does not focus on the reflected sun in the water, he does not focus on the light emanating from that reflected sun also. Then what does he? His attention, he is curious. Whose reflection? He is not happy with that reflection. Whose reflection? When you ask that question, then your obsession with the pot and the reflected sun in the pot will go away. Then you will look from where it is. It is the original one. That is the original sun. So similarly, the pot is this body, the waters are the mind, the reflected sun in the waters of the mind is the reflected I, the consciousness. Wise person does not give value and importance and credence to any of these. How do we live? Only giving importance to this body, only giving importance to these senses, even more so as we get old. Why? कुछ ना कुछ टूटता जाता है, गड़बड़ होती जाती है क्या नहीं? तो life forces you to keep thinking that way. It's okay, allow the mind to think, but you stand apart. For that, it's a lifetime of practice. If it has not happened, it is a lifetime of practice to bring attention to the constant principle. That is discrimination. We give attention only to the changing principle. By default, we don't give attention to the constant principle. So here the teacher is telling the student, the wise person leaves aside the jar, the water, the reflection of the sun in it, and sees the self-luminous sun. So he sees the illuminating principle, the conscious witness that he is, in spite of everything. And in this manner, the wise realize the self-luminous reality which illumines these three. What were the three? The pot, the water, and the reflection. So, what is the pot? This gross body is the pot, mind is the water, the reflection of the consciousness as waker, as I in the waking, is the reflection. In the dreamer also same thing is going on. There is a dream body, there is a dream mind, and in the dream there is a dream I. And there is absence of the two in the sleep. See? And this is going on. And this you can bring it down to, you can go put a microscope on this and you can see it in every aspect of your life. But the original sun, meaning the original I, the self, is independent of them all. Deham dhiyam chit pratibimbamevam visrujya buddhau nihitam guhayam drashtaram akhanda bodham sarva prakasham sadasad vilakshanam. The teacher says, so too, leave aside the body, the intellect and the reflection of the conscious. Now I already connected the ghata example with the body example. So in this verse, he is bringing that, applying that example onto this body. Leave aside the body, body was the ghata. The intellect, and intellect is, or the waters is the intellect. Understand, what is the difference between mind and intellect? Just as water with waves cannot reflect the full orb of the sun, but the same water without waves is able to reflect the sun. That water which cannot reflect the sun in its fullness is the mind. That water which is able to reflect the sun in its fullness is the intellect. But it is all water only. So leave aside the body, leave aside the intellect or the water and the reflection of the self or the consciousness in it. Leave them. Don't take it too much importance. All problems are for the reflection. Problem is not for the man. Problem is for the husband. Problem is for the father. Problem is for the son. Problem is not for the man. Exactly the same way. If you become someone, there is only problem. But who are you? Problem-free existence. Don't identify, there is no problem.
Nothing.
No, don't go to nothing. Question was, when there is nothing, what do I do? Don't go into nothing. We are saying, we are coming to the conscious principle. ये अपना ना तकिया कलाम हो गया है. हमको प्रोग्राम ही ऐसे किया है. नथिंग बोलने में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. देयर इज नथिंग रॉन्ग टू से नथिंग, बट व्हेन वी से इट, अंडरस्टैंड समवेयर डीप इनसाइड that there is nothing called nothing. And realizing in the cave of the intellect, the witness, the self, which is knowledge absolute. As long as we have this body, very few people, masters are there who are gone beyond all identification. So what is the, for a general person, one who is living in this world and practicing sadhana also, what is the first step that comes about? First step is he becomes the sakshi, he becomes the witness. He is not able to remove all the references, but he can come to a position where he is not affected, influenced, entrapped by the references. Such a person is called sakshi, that is the witness. And it takes long time of practice like this of being the witness. It depends how you have programmed yourself. And for the witness to witness itself. And that will only happen as the student asked the question. He must have asked that question only because he went through this whole process. That when all objectivity went away, he said, now there is nothing to witness. Now what do I do? Where is the self? How will I come to know the self? Suddenly anxiety, sudden panic. I think I'm going into a gaga land. This is where study of the scriptures helps. We must be very, very clear that when the mind, and this is what Swamiji keeps telling, what? 2 windows of opportunity every day when your mind is empty, naturally. One is before going to sleep and one is after waking from sleep. Remain awake. Don't give in to the sleep And then don't complain, I didn't sleep all night. Then don't complain, I didn't sleep all night. So go to sleep. Mind is naturally becoming empty. And when the mind is, last thought is, if you are able to catch it through sadhana, you are able to catch that thought that it has gone away and you are still there. Now don't focus on the sleep, that there is nothing. You are, and that's it. अब धीरे धीरे उसको परकोलेट होने दो. धीरे धीरे जैसे the more you allow yourself to be that self in spite of absence, the self will start expressing its potentiality. The self is, what is the potentiality of the self then? All the qualities that you have read and heard. It is सच्चिदानंद स्वरूप, फिर सिद्धियाँ आनी शुरू हो जाती हैं, फिर you are flowing with nature because there is no friction anywhere, because you are continuously being that. Friction तो individual को आता है. Friction, self doesn't feel the friction. See? The self, which is the knowledge absolute, which is the cause of everything, which is distinct from the gross and the subtle. So this pure consciousness that we are, which is independent of the reflection, which is independent of the medium of reflection, and it is independent of the pot in which the medium was kept. So it is independent of all these three. And this is our experience every day. Every day the waking body comes and goes away. Every day the dream pot comes, the dream body pot comes and goes away. So the pot is coming, the water is, the mind and intellect is coming, the reflection is coming, and it is going away. But we have taken that to be real. अब इससे बेवकूफ़ और कौन होगा ज़्यादा? इससे ज़्यादा और कौन बेवकूफ़ होगा? So the teacher is saying, don't get into this wrong avenue of contemplation. Then who are you? Here, now positive, here the example was taken. Now coming to Nityam Vibhum Sarva Gatam Susukshmam Antarbahi Shunyam Ananya Matmanaha Vijnaya Samyag Nijarupametad Puman Vipapma Virajo Vimrityuhu. Each one is an adjective to the pure consciousness, the eternal self, the eternal witness that you are. What is it? This eternal witness, this existence absolute, what is it? It is Nityam, it is eternal. Eternal is what? That which has got no beginning and no end. It has got no beginning and no end. Now, keep listening, close your eyes if you want to. And as I explain this, take these words and apply it to yourself that I am that. So we are talking about Nityam. Nityam is that which is beginningless and endless and therefore eternal. It is Vibhum. Vibhum means it is all pervading. This Atma, this Sakshi, this pure consciousness, there is no place that it is not. It is in its light that everything is happening. It alone is pervading everything. It alone is expressing through everything. Just as water alone is appearing as the various waves, and water alone is expressing through all the waves. Just as the gold alone is expressing through all the ornaments, gold alone is all the ornaments. Similarly, Vibhum, the all-pervasive, it is all that there is. There is nothing else apart from it. Third, Sarvagatam, it is omnipresent. Omnipresent, it is present everywhere at the same time. We were there in the waking. We feel that when I was dreaming, the waking was absent. In the waking, dream was absent. In the deep sleep, waking and dream were absent. But I don't feel the absence of myself. I am continuous one, and therefore I am present in and through all that there is. Susukshmam. It is very, very fine. It is very, very sukshma is subtle. Susukshmam is very, very subtle, very, very fine. And that which is very, very fine cannot be perceived by the gross. Jad cannot come to know the sukshma. The objects cannot come to know the vision. The vision cannot come to know the mind. The mind cannot come to know the intellect. The intellect cannot come to know the Atma. This is the degree of sukshmata, refinement or subtlety. Susukshmam antarbarhi shunyam. Without interior or exterior, the self, expression of the self, the reflection of the self, when it is identified with something, then the in and out begins. In and out is where duality is. In and out is in the mind or outside the mind, in the memory or outside the memory, in the room or outside the room, inside the body or outside the body. But for this consciousness that I am, there is no inside and outside, because there is no reference point. Why there is no reference point? Because it is vibhum. It is all that there is. A wave may have the outside called other waves, but for water, there is no inside and outside water. It's only water is everywhere. Similarly, this pure consciousness, antarbahi shunyam, silence inside and silence outside. What is this silence? Shunyam, it is conscious silence. Does this conscious silence mean? It means there are no reference points for this consciousness to identify with, to reflect upon. Antarbahi shunyam. Then next one is ananyam. It is not different. It is one without a second. It is the only material that is pervading the creation. You see the variety of waves, but it is only one water. You see the variety of pots, but it is only one mud. You see the variety of ornaments, but it is one gold. You see the variety of the creation, but it is nothing but that one pure consciousness. And we are giving it different names. But the nature of the consciousness is that it is one without a second. Ananyam, it cannot be compared with anyone. There is no comparison. It is unique, and that you are. Now don't think you are unique because you are a unique human being. No, we are talking about consciousness. It is not specific, it is non specific consciousness. Specific consciousness is reflected consciousness. Non specific consciousness is infinite consciousness. Atmanaha, and then it says, realizing the Atman to be in this manner, in these various adjectives that we saw, Nija Rupam, as our own essential nature, the person, the seeker, the man becomes, Puman means man, Vipapma, he becomes free from all sin and free from all impurity and comes to abide in the infinite self and becomes, for other people, he becomes deathless. He conquers death as a result of that. And this is what each person is living for. We want to live eternally. Nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam antarbahi shunyam ananyam atmanaha vijnaya samyak nijarupam puman vipapma virajo vimrutyuhu. Sit quietly for some moments. Being what the verse is indicating. Slowly move your toes, fingers, shoulders, neck. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.